Now, what does the source itself actually say when we review the Jewish wars and about what Josephus has to say about the Essenes? Well, he says really a few things, about three actually. First of all, the Essenes, as he states, were one of the three main philosophical sects within late Second Temple Judaism. The other two, of course, being the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Now, what about the Essenes? Well, they were an ascetic sect of Judaism. They lived very much like early Christian monastics. They believed in communal living, and they took vows very similar to the monks of the early Christian period. Vows of chastity, vows of celibacy. They had a strong belief in baptism and in a strong sense of keeping ritually pure. They took care of the sick, the poor, the indigent, the elderly. They taught the idea of the immortality, of the soul, and of the resurrection of the dead. Especially later on in their writings, they become very apocalyptic in nature. And this is a group that's been around by this point for over 100 years, and are throughout various regions within Judea. So they do become quite apocalyptic. Of course, they're just coming out of the Jewish wars, and they firmly believe that the end of times are coming, and they're very near. Now, the Essenes were also seen as a very scholarly group, and in more recent times, they have been linked to the Dead Sea Scrolls. That discovery in 1947 near the Dead Sea at Qumran was right in the heart of Essenic activity during this period. And when you look at the actual Dead Sea Scrolls, and I'm doing a review of them right now for the other part of the project, you see a lot of fragments of Hebrew and Christian scripture. You see whole books of the Bible and the Torah. You see other later Judaic and Christian manuscripts. You see non-canonical gospels and other writings. And you also begin to see a lot of these other apocalyptic and eschatological writings from the period. And so the speculation has always been, is the Dead Sea Library, the Qumran Library, were these books that the Essenes were creating? Was this their library? And was it being hidden from the Romans? So there has been a kind of a link between the Essenes and the Dead Sea Scrolls. As I said, especially later on, the Essenes were very obsessed with the idea of eschatology and eschatological issues. They firmly believed that they were living in a very evil time, that the end of times were coming, and that God was going to usher in a new peaceful golden age for them. They brought this about largely through the interpretations of the Torah, of course, but also through widespread interpretation of the prophet Isaiah, which they quote quite often in their writings and in their works. They firmly believe that Isaiah does point to the establishment of this new kingdom, which is going to be developed and is going to very soon fall upon the Jews, and they are preparing themselves for this time. Maybe in today's culture, we might even look at them as an apocalyptic cult. But that's more or less what they were at this period of time.